You need people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay. So WBA opportunity, undisputed, Sky Nicholson. If two of them are put on the table for you to fight, which one are you going for?
Undisputed, without a doubt.
Okay.
Undisputed, it's a no-brainer.
Look at the face she just made, Ade. Look at the face.
I know, I saw that face.
So this is a big part of the reason I felt that Sky Nicholson should probably stay at featherweight instead of moving down to super bantam. It's because Ellie Scotney's already in the midst of her undisputed run, and that will keep her preoccupied for the foreseeable future and the remaining champions that are there. Sky Nicholson may not be a priority to any of them, whereas staying at feather, she could have targeted one of the champions that are there. What champion? Tiara Brown doesn't want to give her a rematch. Amanda Serrano didn't want to give her the time of day. Who could she have targeted? Nina Menka. Nina Menka, the IBF champion that is currently recovering from spinal surgery. You figure that if Sky Nicholson would have come back in an IBF eliminator, fought in one or two of those, right, before the year is out to become interim champion so that she can then apply pressure on Nina. And if Nina is otherwise unable to fight, we know that the IBF doesn't hesitate to strip a fighter of a belt if they cannot satisfy their mandatory. Sky Nicholson could have occupied herself with that during Ellie's undisputed run, so that by the time it's done and Ellie moves up, Sky would have something that Ellie wants. Sky would have a belt. The way she's done it, moving down to super bantam, there's no guarantee that Ellie Scotney gives her the time of day after she becomes undisputed champion. I think she will, though afterwards, there's no real incentive for Ellie Scotney to fight Sky Nicholson. Sky doesn't have anything she wants, anything she needs, and if Sky remains there, what she may end up fighting for is for a vacant title, which, let's be honest, it's not the same thing as beating a champion in order to be a champion. That by then, Ellie Scotney will be the most high-profile fight that Sky can have. What would that fight look like? So you may have noticed the change in Sky Nicholson in her last fight, what was her super bantamweight debut. She wasn't hanging back, she wasn't moving away from her opponent, she was stepping into her punches and taking it to her opponent. Would she fight Ellie Scotney that same way? I doubt it. I think that against Ellie Scotney, Sky would resort to fighting how she normally fights. Long distance, long range, on the balls of her feet, throwing 1 and 2 punches at a time from a safe distance. Because she's taller than Ellie. She's a little taller, she's a little longer. Against Ellie, she would try to use it, doesn't mean it would work. In that situation, it would be up to Ellie Scotney to effectively close the distance, get inside on Sky Nicholson, and beat her from the inside out. I think she can. Ellie has proven herself a much more adaptable fighter in high-level situations than Sky Nicholson comparatively. That's not saying that Sky isn't good. Sky's a good fighter in her own way, but not as good as Ellie. Not to me. She's already beaten 3 reigning world champions. She took the IBF from Shernika Johnson, the WBO from Sigaline Lafarve, more recently the WBC from Yemi Mercado. These are all very different fighters with very different styles, and Ellie was able to adapt to all of them. To where adapting to Sky Nicholson, I absolutely think she can. What would she have to do? She'd have to be the aggressor, very aggressive, to get close to Sky, to get inside on Sky, to outwork her. She's already shown more ability in close proximity than Sky Nicholson. Ellie Scotney's not limited to boxing long range like Sky has been for many fights. Ellie is fluid. She can box from the outside and bang on the inside. So it's a fight that I would favor Ellie Scotney to win, but I don't know if it's gonna happen, because, like I said, Sky don't bring nothing to the table for Ellie except her name. The only virtue of fighting Sky is that Sky is more well-known than anyone Ellie has fought so far, but that by itself may not be reason enough.
As of right now, it don't look like Buddy trying to get in that ring right now. I mean, just off the simple fact that they didn't reach out. You know, obviously, like, whoever represents him or whatever the case may be, like, they ain't reach out and say, all right, we still on track for XYZ. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be, if they pushed it back or they didn't or not. So, you know, I mean, again, they can any day, but you know what I'm saying? That's really what's going on. But like I told y'all before, you know what I'm saying? We not sitting around waiting for it, bro. Like, at the end of the day, I see it as an escape route.
So what's that? The second or third update in less than a week, where Lamont Roach went from assuring that the fight would still happen on the 16th, now he's saying he's not hearing anything. And it looks like Gervonta doesn't want to fight. Rumors abound. Some Twitter users, so one who goes by the name It's Jules, says, I've got a leak inside Gervonta Davis's promotion, and he just told me that Tank is about to retire. How reliable this Jules person is and how reliable their sources are is in question, but at the same time, Gervonta Davis did start off this year by saying that he wants to walk away from the sport. And he wants to walk away soon. So on the heels of this draw and his legal troubles, it wouldn't surprise me if this turned out to be true. Rumors abound. There is also a separate rumor via a more reliable source. Salvador Rodriguez at ESPN said there is talk of Mayweather, of Gervonta, of a rematch with Barrios, but it seems that today the most likely opponent for Pacquiao could be Rolly Romero. The potential for a Gervonta Davis versus Manny Pacquiao fight. I guess that there are some preliminary rumblings. This would require Gervonta Davis to jump up 2 weight classes to the welterweight division, since he's still down there at lightweight and Manny's up there at welter. But it's yet another rumor that suggests Gervonta will not be fighting Lamont Roach next. So how could he be so comfortable bailing on a rematch that he needs to have? Because in all actuality, he needs that second fight more than Lamont Roach. He needs to make it right. He needs to go in there and stop that guy, because to a lot of people, he already lost and he was lucky to get the draw. How could he be so comfortable bailing? Well, he was never held to any kind of a standard. People celebrated his mediocrity and his mediocre opponent choices for years, to where walking away from a Lamont Roach rematch, that's in keeping with who he has been as a fighter, while Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney are pursuing fights with the likes of a Vasyl Lomachenko. Gervonta's keeping busy with Rolly, with Isaac, with a bunch of bums. He's never held to any kind of a standard, doesn't hold himself to any kind of a standard. So I guess that now he knows Lamont Roach is more formidable than he thought, and he got more than he bargained for in their initial meeting. Now he doesn't want to run it back. That's in keeping with who he has been, steering clear of any formidable fighters anywhere in between 130, 135, and 140. He always fought the bums, the outliers. So, I mean, if Gervonta Davis ain't gonna fight him, that ain't the end of the world for Lamont Roach. I've said it many times. He can always go fight Shakur Stevenson, for example, in a big Riyadh season show. I'm sure that Turki El Al-Sheikh would pay him handsomely to fight Shakur on one of his Ring Magazine cards or a Riyadh season card. It's not the end of the world for Lamont Roach if that rematch don't happen. He's got options. And if by some chance he fights Shakur, and Shakur beats him handily, Shakur beats him easy, Gervonta Davis will become that much harder to defend. This is the guy you struggled with? There is very little to add to this conversation. As expected, Gervonta and Lamont are not going to be fighting on the 16th, if they ever fight again, if they even fight at all.
Based on what you've seen from these guys, Brian and Devin, who wins the fight in your opinion?
Against
Norman and Haney, yeah.
Norman and Haney. I would say odds would probably favor Haney. Why? because Haney ain't taking a fight that they think is even remotely like a problem. I mean, they fought like
well,
a
there's the
bona
angle that
fide
maybe it's
beef.
Turkey's idea.
Yeah,
It's Turkey's idea. Maybe it's not the Haney's. We don't know, but
I
there's
doubt
two
it.
trains of thought that Bill and Devin courted this fight, or it's a fight Turkey wanted.
No, I think that it's all Bill and Devin Haney.
Okay.
Trying to figure out a way into the market, and I don't even know if it's even going to be promoted by Turkey. My whole thing is.
Well, it's supposed to be the co-main event in November. Benavides Yard.
In the Riyadh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a co-main.
Well, that's going to be interesting. But I just don't think that Norman has what it takes to do the things that I would probably do to somebody like Devin Haney. I mean, you can't run and punch at the same time. So there's going to be opportunities. But if you're just chasing him around, which Brian Norman can easily can fall into, and then get popped with a jab, and then the whole fight is basically won and measured off of like 1 or 2 punches that's ever landed in each round. That could easily happen. And I mean, this guy's the road runner right now, and you got slightly slower fighters chasing them down, and it won't work against somebody like Blair LaFleur. But against Brian Norman, quite possibly.
Blair Cobbs may come off as a sometimes quirky, kooky character, but there was a lot of truth in his evaluation and what he said. Devin Haney has opened up as the slight favorite over Brian Norman via FanDuel, that sportsbook, likely due to his prior experiences against guys like George Kambosos and Vasil Lomachenko, Regis Prograis. He's got the better resume of the two, but it's also the stuff that Blair Cobbs said. The round can be won and lost with single jabs, while Devin Haney's ice skating around the ring, playing keep away from Brian Norman, just landing 1 or 2 jabs, he wins the round. Win enough rounds, he wins the fight. I think there are a lot of people who would like for Brian Norman to shut Devin Haney and his father up and run them out of boxing. I think there are a lot of people that are perhaps rooting for a Brian Norman win, a Brian Norman knockout, but there are realities to be addressed that Devin Haney could make this a boring fight like he made his last fight a boring fight. So who you root for isn't always the same guy you put your money on. Veteran boxing scribe Mike Coppinger recently caught up with the reigning WBO champion ahead of the Devin Haney fight.
Brian Garcia caught Devin Haney with a lot of left hooks. You have a big left hook. Have you watched those fights, and is there something you see that you're like, you know what, I can do that too?
I haven't watched anything lately, but of course I watched it when it was live, and everybody just focused on my left hook. It's more to the game. It's more to the game than just a left hook.
Your jab was nice. You were jabbing to the body nice against Sasaki, yeah.
It's even more than that. So I got a jab, I got feet, I got this, and I got that. So he gonna be looking out for the left hook. What about the right hand? What about the jab? What about the uppercuts? I'm cutting the ring off the whole time, press you the whole time. You can't go nowhere. You think I'm finna load up? Ain't nothing loaded up. I just naturally hit hard. My hands are faster than what you think. Feel me? Don't let these cameras fool you. It's different in person.
Brian Norman has the right idea. It doesn't all ride on landing a left hook, a single left hook. As many left hooks as Ryan Garcia landed, it would be foolhardy to think that because he landed like that, you're gonna land like that. I think what happened in the early goings of Garcia versus Haney set the tone for the rest of the fight, because I remember in the early rounds, Ryan landed a big left hook. He rocked Devin Haney, and it seemed like after that, Devin was trying to get his lick back, so he starts pursuing Ryan. He starts chasing him. Well, he's open for the hook. Whereas with Jose Ramirez, he was a lot more careful, a lot more cautious. He wasn't coming forward, he was hanging back. Might do the same thing in the Brian Norman fight. To the point that Blair Cobbs made, that the Haneys would not have taken this fight if they weren't sure of the victory. I don't agree with that. No, I don't agree with that because the Haneys are not the ones responsible for putting this together. And after 2 fights had already fallen through, it's not like they had much of a choice. The Ryan Garcia rematch fell through because Ryan lost. Teofimo walked away. What else were they going to do? Who else were they going to fight to where fighting Brian Norman is really your only option, unless you want to sit out for the rest of the year and not do nothing? Brian has to pressure him. and that's the main thing. He has to try to fight Devin the same way that he fought Giovanni Santillan, in the sense that he has to crash the pocket, throw punches and bunches.
All the stuff he said while being interviewed by Mike Kopinger, it would seem that Brian has a good idea what he has to do, but is he going to actually do it? You gotta cut off the ring.
That's what he needs to focus on.
Odds are Brian Norman is physically stronger than Devin Haney, but power counts for nothing if you can't land, and you can't land if you can't catch this guy.
Talk more about it as the fight date approaches.
Wow. Teofimo Lopez.
Teofimo Lopez.
Really? Man, I love the kid. Teofimo Lopez. Yeah. He's a showman, but he can fight.
He can fight.
I think he's the only one. If you think about the ring card we did here in Times Square, he was the only one that showed up. You know, in terms of like giving people a show, and in terms of like, you know, on stage and making it a circus, whatever, you know, bringing attention, eyeballs to the sport. He was the only one working it. I love that.
If he's done with Top Rank, you'll be interested in signing him to go.
Oh, if he has no contract, I would love to promote him. I think he's a special fighter. If I was his promoter and he had no contract, I would do a rematch with him and Kambosos.
But even after Kambosos' last loss against Hitchens was bad.
See, everybody talks about, well, Kambosos beat you. And everybody's about the, and this and that. Okay, well, go avenge it. That's it. And you move on. And guess what? You're as good as your last fight. So once you beat Kambosos, you're on top of the world again. So, yeah, I'm hoping Teofimo watches this and we can sit down and talk once your contract is over.
Good. Maybe we'll be the reason why Golden Boy and Teofimo.
You're not asking for a cut, are you?
Of course we are. Just 0.2%.
What are we asking for?
Matter of fact, I'm going to call Teo after this.
It's actually not a bad idea. It's a recommendation I've made myself here on the channel on more than one occasion, that Teofimo needs to exact vengeance on George Kambosos, if for no other reason than it's something that people still lord over him, that you lost to George Kambosos. Well, they'll forget that if you go in there and knock him out.
What else I've said on more than one occasion, that I actually favor Teofimo Lopez to win a rematch if there is a rematch. But a lot of ideas that look good on paper don't play out that way in real time, because this is all on the premise that Teofimo signs to Oscar De La Hoya and that Golden Boy promotes the fight. Well, how would they price it? Because it's not that big a fight, but Teofimo's likely going to want big money. George is likely going to want big money. George is coming off a knockout loss to Richards at 140 pounds, where Teofimo still has the WBO title.
Teofimo is burning bridges left and right. He's running out of places to go. He didn't like it at Top Rank. He doesn't like Matchroom. He just burnt that bridge with Turkey. Golden Boy, he hasn't worked with Golden Boy yet, but Golden Boy doesn't have the best track record with fighters that they work with.
Ryan doesn't get along with Oscar, and we know that Canelo's relationship with Oscar did not end amicably.
Teofimo's relationships don't ever seem to end amicably.
Not even the one with his wife.
So, I mean, it's a good idea, a Lopez versus Kambosos rematch, to get Teofimo Lopez that peace of mind, but there are a lot of caveats attached to it, to where I don't know how realistic that is. Not just the rematch, but Teofimo migrating over to Golden Boy Promotions? Yeah, I don't know about that.